Thank you for joining me, Roisin. Lovely to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you, Claire. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Just rushed out of a long day. And you, have you had a full day?
Yeah, same here. Yeah, had a couple of sub-classes there, which was fun.
Yeah, how do you like those?
Yeah, I quite like them. Depends on what the topic is. Sometimes I don't really know what I'm teaching, and then it finally clicks and I'm like, right, okay, I've got it now.
It always keeps you on your toes though, doesn't it? That like being thrown in. There's something about it I quite like. It doesn't always work out, but something about it I quite like. Okay, so as we chatted before the interview, I wanted to talk to you about a few things that are wider than specific to the platform or specific to Bling, because I know you've got quite a lot of experience that way, and I think it'll be really helpful to our teachers. And I know that you lived and taught in China, and you said to me it really changed you. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What changes you noticed the most, what you value the most, and what you brought back with you when you came home to Scotland?
Going to China was my first experience really living in another country, and it was my first time properly teaching as a TEFL teacher. So, you know, you had a new country to get used to, you had a new job to get used to. It was pretty full on at the start. But I remember going to this city, which I wasn't going to be living in this city, it was just to do a bit of training. And we had to do some role play. And I hate role play so much. Like, I used to be quite shy, and I was just like, oh, in my head, just like, why are you torturing us? Like, this is awful. And we all had to, you know, pretend to be kids. We had to pretend to teach a class, and I thought that was quite difficult. So then we got the feedback, and I got told, you need to be more energetic, you need to be this and you need to be that. And
that's surprising. You come across as having huge energy.
Well, I think that's what I've kind of improved on, just sort of getting over myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like just being able to let go, just whatever it is, just see it as fun, see it as playful. And yeah, that really helped me. But at the time I was just like,
really hard, like a real challenge. I understand I don't like role play type things myself, but so you really took that and brought it back with you. And
well, I kind of understood when I started teaching. The very first class I had was a kindergarten class.
Oh my goodness.
You know, all these Chinese kids speaking to me in Chinese, they were like, now I know what they were saying. They were like, teacher, I want, I'm thirsty, I need a drink, or I need a toilet, or I want a pen. And I'm just like, touch your head.
Oh my goodness. Do you teach pre-K now?
Sometimes I mainly do the demo classes for pre-K. I love fish. Yeah, Jen knows I love fish.
I know. Yeah, we've talked a lot about the I love fish.
The second thing was learning another language, just being immersed in another language. I'm sure you can relate living in Spain. I don't know if you knew Spanish beforehand. You probably
I didn't know.
So just having that bombardment of another language and how your brain operates in that circumstance and how you try and put things together, that really helped me, I think, be a better teacher.
Really helps you understand that kind of overwhelm, I think.
Did you dream in Italian and in Spanish?
Yeah, sometimes. When I lived in Italy, my life in Italy was more Italian. My life here is obviously I spend the day speaking English, so less often in Spanish. But yeah, did you dream in Chinese?
I think, well, I didn't know Chinese when I first arrived. I still don't know Chinese, like my Chinese is rubbish. But I could feel my brain try to process everything. So I was dreaming about all these like symbols and people talking to me in Chinese. And I think my brain was just a bit overwhelmed.
I know that you're very much a people person and you're also a nature lover. You love to be outside and a lot of your hobbies involve being outside and exercise and so on. And you found it quite difficult at first coming back and being on an online rather than a face-to-face job. So obviously face-to-face teaching is incredibly social and gives you that energy if you're that kind of person. How have you managed that now that you're entirely online?
Yeah, I did find that difficult, especially with your little filler activities or the way that time passes. I found the 40 minutes quite intense at first because you have to go through the material really like, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, just really intense.
So when you're in the classroom, when I was doing brick and mortar type jobs like that, TEFL jobs, if I didn't finish a chapter or we got heavily into an activity, you could stay with it because next lesson you can just kind of catch it up and speed on. And of course, we can't do that now. So have you got any tips and tricks that you've sort of integrated into your teaching to make it feel a bit less intense and a bit more relaxed?
I think I sort of bounce off the students. So they've got a creative idea, which of course they do. They're so creative and imaginative. I kind of roll with it. And we make up a story, or we can go and draw over the pictures that come up. We kind of have a good discussion, or we just kind of let it flow naturally, I guess.
Learning to relax into it. I think that's a big thing. It took me quite a long time with Bling too, to relax into it and not worry so much. You know, if I go heavy one end with one class, I'm heavy the other end with another class, depending on how quick they are, what they already know. Just kind of breathe easy and think, yeah, it's all right. I mean, well, don't get to slide 10 and have to finish. But yeah, relax a little bit about it and don't worry quite so much about the details. You mentioned to me that you've had to build in some clear boundaries for yourself in order to manage this, the online and the pandemic, of course. I'm really bad at it myself. So just for me and for everybody else, what that kind of boundaries, how have you set rules and how do you make yourself stick to them?
So I hold my hands up as well. I'm really bad at it too. I do struggle still, but I think being consistent is really important, and that's where I struggle. So I know what would make me feel better, but it's actually doing it, which is the tricky part. So for example, I think putting away your props and your teaching materials once you finish is a great way to set a boundary. And I say this and I've literally just got like fish and cocoa as well. So I didn't do it today, but it definitely helps. Or just going for a walk. I think I went through a little phase of going for a wee walk around the local park before classes started.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was helpful, but I didn't do it. I didn't stick to it. So
you didn't stick to it. Do you find it easier afterwards than before? I always find whatever time I have before the lessons, whether it's half an hour, 90 minutes, I always seem to just fill it up with my preparation.
Yeah, for sure. It was only when the times changed that I got the extra hour.
Yeah.
But you're right, it'd be on the back of my mind, like, okay, I need to be back for, 9 o'clock so I can sign in and da-da-da.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good though, super helpful.
Yeah, so maybe you should get back to it. Maybe we all should. I know I should.
What about you? What do you find helpful?
I'm awful at it. I find that sometimes days go by and I don't actually leave the house, especially having got into that kind of pandemic mentality. And I was doing about 4 jobs through that. So that was quite hardcore. I find that, like you say, even if I just take the rubbish out and walk to the bins, just to make sure I step outside or go up onto I have a roof terrace on my building and stand in the sun for 10 or 15 minutes. I try to do those kind of things because if you don't, you do feel really, really claustrophobic. You know what's going to help, but you don't always do it.
Total cabin fever eventually.
Yeah, it does. I like to go to the gym as well. What do you do exercise-wise?
So I like running and I love hill walking. And because the rules have changed recently, I've been going up the hills. But it's not been the best weather,
No. Do you live in the country? Sorry.
No, I live in Glasgow. So we just drive out and we did one yesterday, or actually on Monday there. And there was hailstones, like 40 mile an hour winds. But that's what makes you feel alive. You're like, okay, this is the biggest contrast that I need right now.
Well, I suppose so. There is that. I'm not sure that would encourage me to go out very much.
And what about screen time? Do you think it's important to kind of come away from screens after you finish teaching?
Yeah, I do. And like you, I try to put my props away, and I don't do it every day, but at the end of the week on a Saturday, I always turn this round. So it's a blank wall because I have a huge bedroom and it's in part of my bedroom. So if I don't, at least, and then I switch all the tech, the hardware off, and it stays off. And the only thing I use is my phone, which I don't use for Bling. So yeah, so that helps. Roisin, you've told me that you're not techy, because I was going to ask you about your any tech advice. So instead of giving me tech advice, you said you're sort of the switch it off and switch it on again school. So obviously, if that doesn't work, what do you do? How do you manage the situation? Rather than stressing about the tech, how do you cope in the classroom?
Me and the students find it quite funny when we have glitches or whatever. I know I don't know if you had the recent glitch in the assessment where one kid will just get loads of stars. Yeah. And all the others just be like, what? Like, why is he? I've got like 40 stars and I've got blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we found that quite funny. So I would just keep giving the other one stars to match it. And we're just like,
Make it funny. Don't let them take it too seriously. I've got one little boy that he can't see the stars. I can't see the stars, teacher, I can't see the stars. And the others say to him, Bernie, you've got 9 stars and Candy's got 8 stars and I've got 10 stars. They give him a running commentary of the stars.
Oh,
so he doesn't feel left out.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, it's lovely when they become really good friends. I don't know if you've got any like that. Mostly my 1-on-3s are not like that, but some of them, they really sort of bonded, and I love that.
Sometimes, especially kind of when they tease each other, in a nice way, you're like, you guys like each other.
Yeah, it's nice because it feels like they're used to being very individual. Mm-hmm. And working separately. I don't know. It always feels like that to me in the 1-on-3s. Not when they come from a class and they know each other, then you get the interaction, the big groups. But in the 1-on-3s, they quite often are quite distant and not willing to interact. So when you can build that up and they build it up, it's lovely. It's really lovely.
Yeah. Come on, now if you just leave you've got your camera switched on, but I'll sometimes hear them just kind of talking to each other, and I'm like, that's nice.
Yeah. I normally stick up a blank page, or sometimes I put a question on it, or depending on what the class likes to do, and let them have a bit of interaction beforehand. The ones that want to, some just patently refuse. Apart from having fun, which is obviously a big one, do you have any sort of other crisis aversion tools or strategies, any games that you throw in when there's nothing on the screen?
I think this was a Mac user thing again. When I entered a subclass, there was no material. The material did not load. I couldn't even use the pen. You can't even use any of the tools. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do for 40 minutes? But we did it. We managed it. I just kind of pulled up what I was supposed to do. So luckily I had the right props available for that lesson. I think it was all about what's your favorite toy? I like robots or whatever. So I had, all these
You've got robots, I see. You've got robots behind you.
Oh, yeah. I forgot they were even robots. So, yeah, we did a lot of learning through props. Got them to say it back again, just kind of kept a similar structure. And then I asked them if they had paper or a pen, they could draw their favourite toy, and then they hid it, and then they have to guess what toy's behind.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah, well done. And they got to show me, like I said, show me your toys. So I was lucky that I got that class, very lucky. But yeah, just lots of interaction.
Good advice there is to always have some props on hand. I've started recently using digital props, which are great for the older levels, funny, little funny video clips and things, and they love that. But it is handy to have some actual physical props in case something goes wrong and you can't. And also always asking them to have pen and paper, well, not always, but using that pen and paper instead. If they can't write, some of them can't seem to manage the the pen tool. So if they can't, I just wave paper and pen at them and get them to write it on pen.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, they are. So yeah, that is pen and paper never fails. Old school.
Have pen and paper. Pens and paper nearby.
Always. What would be your best piece of advice to brand new Bling teachers?
Just keep working hard. Like, make sure that you plan and you have lots of props. Make sure that you have fun with it, because it's no point in doing it if it's not fun or you're not getting some sort of enjoyment out of it. And just be patient, because I know it can be slow in the beginning. So I think at the start I didn't want to go back to my old job when I got back to Scotland. So I just got a job as a cleaner, and I would clean in the morning, early in the morning, then in the evening, and then during the day I would do whatever classes I got given. I was like, yeah, okay, cool, give me.
Eventually you do get full if you put in the dedication, I think. And this question comes up a lot. I'm brand new. When am I going to get classes? When am I going to get full? And it's just not how Bling work. No. I know that other companies work differently, but it's not. But as you and I are sort of testament to, and lots of others, as we know, it's worth hanging on in there.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. It's worth it. There's still the best out there. On the flip side of that question, your sort of best advice, what do you think teachers needlessly stress about that they can lay to rest?
I reckon it's keeping the classes engaging after a while, especially with your regular classes.
Yeah.
Being able to keep that momentum going. I find that tough.
Yeah, I think it depends on the class. I mean, I've got a few regular classes that just almost run themselves, because as I say, they've become friends, and it's so easy. I can always pull up extra conversation. They're always wanting to talk. But I've got others, and it is like pulling teeth. And I spend longer planning those and find them much tougher. And, I never want to get assessed on them, because the assessments come back and says, you should do more high fives and you should do more fist bumps. Like, these kids, they're not that kind of kid.
Yeah, that's when they look at you like, oh.
It's hard, but I suppose my thing for needlessly stressing is give up that idea of being perfect. You're working in the moment, and you're not always going to be having a great day. They're not always going to be having a great day. And sometimes all of you are not going to be having a great day, and it just feels like it's bombed a bit. But if you've put in your prep and you've taught properly, you've still given them a decent learning experience. It's not all going to be, happy, clowny, bouncy, full on, A+ entertainer mode all the time, is it? So I think letting go of that a little bit, giving yourself a break and them a break, knowing that, well, they do so many classes, don't they? They work so hard.
That's what I think all the time. Like, I'm happy that they even show up. They have just had a long day at school, lots of homework, lots of extracurricular activities, and now they've got me in front of them. I just think, just whatever you want to give me, I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
I like talking to them about it as well. Like, if they do come to class a little bit grumpy, I think they appreciate being asked, like, hey, what's up, are you okay? Or, oh yeah, I've got lots of homework. And that's a classic, isn't it?
Yeah. Give them a break and don't expect 100% all the time, because they haven't got it at 8 o'clock at night.
No way, I would crumble if I had their schedule.
We are going to play Beat the Teacher. What is your favourite tool on the platform?
Ready?
Oh, the dice.
Oh, mine is there. Sorry.
As we were talking about drawing, I thought I'd got that. The dice. Now, I don't use the dice that much because it irritates me that I can't move it. Tell me a few ways that you use the dice.
I have a little chant. I say, how many stars, how many stars, how many stars? And then we roll the dice and everyone's waiting to see how many stars they're going to get. And then I give them the amount of stars that comes up. So for the group work, I do a collective how many stars, and they get a chance. They get 2 chances to roll the dice. After the first roll, they can roll again.
Or they can't roll. Another reason I use it is that they can't roll, because
But they're all watching and waiting, like, and say if you got, like, I think today they got 3 stars, and I said, do you want to roll again? They were like, yeah, okay. And they rolled again and they got 1 star. And they were like, no. I was like, well,
you asked. You get what you asked for. Second Beat the Teacher question. What would your prayer to the Bling gods be? What would you like added to the platform?
I know.
Before we had Roombox, you were obviously had Classin, and I know what I liked on Classin.
Oh, yeah. That also.
Tell me about the green button.
So there was my students still asked for the green button. That's why I wrote it down. So the green button was a way to see who would answer the question first. So they had to click the green button. And if you were first, your name came on the green button. And like you were kind of like the winner. So you got to speak first.
I don't even remember that.
The mini boards are amazing as well.
I loved the mini boards because then if they were scribbling over each other's drawings, and you could make a competition, and I loved the mini boards. I don't remember the green button. Sounds great though. What is your favourite course that we do? So regular classes, Pops Wonderland, Explorers. I've said the tailored large groups.
No, I wrote regular. I really like the regular ones, or World Explorer.
I said the large groups just because I thought that you would be. I can really imagine you in a classroom with like 25 kids and it all getting hectic and loving it. Which brings me to my last one, which is, what's your favourite age group?
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
I was wrong, completely wrong. I lost that one.
I thought, they're good. I
thought the older ones, because you were talking about all the conversation, it's hard to have as much conversation with the little.
I think the 10 to 12-year-olds can be tough because they lose a lot of the enthusiasm, and it's so strange watching your students go through that sort of pre-teen stage where they're like, it's always
the tweens. I find once they're into that final, like level 5, and they've got their pet coming up and they've got middle school coming up, they kind of get back, not that same kind of fun, but a bit more, they're more conscientious and they want to learn and they want to do well. And I like that level 5, but that sort of level 4 where they're between the 2s and 3s are all still like, woohoo, yeah, we love it. And then level 4's like,
That's so true. I've got 2 regular level 4s just now. And like some of the material can be quite tough because if they're not that interested in it.
Yeah. I just taught Mississippi Cruise today.
Me too.
That was that was fun. They had a cartoon of a stinky skunk. That was the highlight of my lesson.
That's cute. Yeah, I kept having one of my students kept showing his feet like, yeah, stinky. I'm like, yeah, you get it.
You get the skunk award.
Yeah.
Roisin, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for all your fabulous tips. And I'm sure this will be a great help to everybody, especially the new teachers who really need some help. Thank you so much for sharing.
We can take our own advice as well and creating clear boundaries. We can do it.
I need to do that. I will be doing that, definitely. I'd say that. I'll try and do that. Okay, thank you so much. We are going to play Beat the Teacher. I don't know.
Wee game.
Little game. Excuse me, I've got to blow my nose. Runny nose. Yeah, have a go.
I was like, are you listening to my pen strokes to see how long it's going to be?